so high. So this channel is specifically for dogs. The intent of this video is I do have a new music channel, if that's why you subbed recently. So off the bat, the link below, you can go to that channel instead. So I want to talk specifically about why this Uncommon Dogs Productions was created in this video, because they are two separate projects. And like I said in the other video, Uncommon Dogs Productions, it was not made for music whatsoever. I'll just like give a background of how it all came about, where I am now, like literally, and just, in general. As I said in my other video, Uncommon Dogs Productions is a 501c3, which just means a nonprofit, and that's the type of, like, it's not an LLC, it's not a government, it's considered a nonprofit. And specifically, not a rescue. My home has been operating as like a board and train, basically, for this guy right here. And he's kind of why I'm making this right now. Unfortunately, this Fru, it's been 15 months with him, and because it's very hard to find homes for dogs. Every single one is its own project. So I did not go the route of being a rescue, knowing all the finances that go along with that, there's a lot to keep track of having a rescue, and a lot of them fold because they're just not there's just too much of a need, and it's a lot of, not only is it like high, there's a lot of dogs, there are a lot of urgent cases, and it's just so unpredictable that I can't manage my own life. It's kind of come to that point now with Faru, because I brought two dogs with me here when I moved back to LA a few years ago, and he and my boy just don't like each other anymore. I just have to admit to myself, I can't do it anymore. Faru, in my shot. I got him on the day he was going to be euthanized, and since then, kind of took a step back from volunteering because I got three dogs. Like, realistically, my dogs need attention, and he needs to be integrated into the house. And so they got along for half the time, and then just after Christmas, they started fighting with each other. And it was because I was just depleted. I didn't have it in me anymore. The only time they all get proper attention is when I go through periods of unemployment. And obviously, I can't sustain unemployment living in LA alone, not with three dogs. Low key, I've pretty much been dealing with like a state of depression. That's why I started making music, because not only like in and out of unemployment, people coming and going on my life, heartbreak, just feeling, like I can't ever, do enough to just, like, I don't know, being overwhelmed with everything, keeping a clean house. That's why I started doing music, and so that's when this channel became about music rather than dogs, because I had to take a step back from volunteering. I couldn't, like, logistically, I couldn't hold a job. It's just an insane expectation. I would not expect anyone to go as hard as I do for dogs. Like, I just do everything, like, full on or not. I'm very all or nothing intense type of person, and so I was doing that with dogs, and now all that energy is channeled into music, but it also kind of keeps me in that depressive state a lot. But anyway, back to the point. Drew's not going to be with me much longer. I've had 15 months to bond with him, get him to an adoptable state. He's a very cute boy. It's not his butt, but he's a mutt, and he's a big dog, and there's a lot of it's already hard to find housing in LA, and I actually live in this area, South LA, South Central, whatever depending who you ask, specifically because it is hard to find a place where they'll let you have a big dog. And he's kind of staying against my terms, and my manager knows about it, but he's not supposed to have been here this long. So, like, I know the city limit is 3, but on my lease, I registered 2 dogs, and he was supposed to have been gone a long time ago, and it's just been hard to find a home for him. So, by the grace of God, thankfully, I'm in a pet-friendly building, and it's chill, but I can't. It's just asking too much for the people around me. Like, it's not even just me. I just can't do it anymore. It's just come to the point where, like, my home is going into disrepair because I'm too tired to take care of myself, and I also don't want to call maintenance over because my place is full of dogs, and it's just uncomfortable to, have dogs maybe barking or being erratic the whole time maintenance trying to fix something. I can't do it anymore. With 3, I had 2. Back to why this started. So I made it a 501c3 around sometime when I had Faru, when I took a step back from volunteering and I had been living in the South LA area, and people kept suggesting I open a 501, just open a nonprofit. And so I did some research and I didn't want to open a rescue. That's why I never did. Rescue is too difficult. I'm not organized enough. So found a way to make a nonprofit that was more like my experience with production and creation and education. And I feel like the information gap is a big reason why there is a crisis. There's not communication between shelters and knowledge about the laws, enforcement, and all this stuff. And even on the back end, how the shelter itself operates. That was my documentary, was showing you this is actually how it works over here, more or less, at a given shelter and stuff like that. Just people wouldn't know unless they were deeply inside. And unfortunately, I don't know why animal shelters work this way, that a lot of volunteers get penalized or shut out from knowing stuff, or even kicked out from volunteering itself for asking questions and requesting just things be better. That there's a lot of unknown knowledge. So that was my goal, was to educate people and make documentaries, or at least my podcast, that's Dog Tales, and talk about this stuff. I started working with dogs where I'm from, in my hometown that I don't like to associate with. I'm sorry. This is my first animal shelter. The shirt is from there. I don't go back there. LA is my home. It's been my home. Yeah, see this dog. This is the thing. Is this he gets excited by other dogs because he just doesn't get enough socialization. And it's not that he would pick a fight with a dog necessarily, because he doesn't fight with my dogs, but has not had consistent socializing. I'm sorry. It requires consistency and training and a schedule. And I have two other dogs that are also similar, that they don't have all their training in place. And I just don't, every time I go for a walk, it's a training exercise basically with every dog, because I have to redirect this type of behavior. They're all from animal shelters. They all probably were gotten as puppies and left untrained. And so a lot of the dogs at the shelter are around 1 to 2 years old. They never train them. They babied them the whole time. And so you kind of have to start all over with them. And my two have not had enough attention themselves, because I've been trying to survive by myself in LA. The place I live, I just, where I'm from, I don't have any ties to, don't have support. I really, there's a few people I'm still in contact with back home, but it wasn't worth it in any type of way to stay there. I have no safety net. It's here. It's pretty much anywhere. So I already knew LA. That I moved back here. Yeah, that's another story. Yeah, it was a few years ago. I moved back here with a couple of my dogs, and I was living in like hotels, Airbnbs, even in my car for on and off, trying to just get a place. I finally got a place approved in Hollywood, and I lived there for like a month. They stole my deposit, and I left. I moved nearby, pretty much in a adjacent neighborhood for like a year. And again, just a slumlord situation. That's why it's hard to house a dog. I've lost housing on account of my dogs, but whatever. I moved, and I was in the process of being evicted from the next place. I had been there almost a year, and so I'm pretty much like, I've already lost a legitimate case in court against the landlord, where I was in the right and he broke his contract, because whatever reason, landlords are favored. That I didn't take him to court. I just sat on my place for the last month and said, look, you take my deposit as my last month's rent, because you're going to swipe my deposit anyway. I know everyone does this crap. It's not even just the LA thing. So sat on that place, and I was going to go back to where I was from, like in NorCal. I was also like between jobs at this point, and I had just gotten him not like a couple months ago. So everything was up in the air, that I didn't know what the heck. And this is just my background, basically. I'm not really talking about the nonprofit. I was just applying everywhere, basically. I was looking into going back and calling it a failure. But just, I tried moving back to LA. It didn't work out. I didn't even want to come back here anyway, several years ago, because the whole scene is fake, and I just don't. I'm trying not to say anyway so much, but I didn't even want to come back to LA in the first place, and now I was going back. Didn't want to go back there. There was just nowhere I could just be with my dogs, and life wasn't working out. And I pretty much I was applying in South LA because that's where this guy was from. That's where all the dogs were from, and my logic Well, if all the dogs are coming from this area, it's not like unbeknownst to them that these big dogs exist. People aren't afraid of them to the point that they, call the ambulance and complain to management and try to kick you out of your own apartment. So I was applying all in this area, and this is the first place I got approved of. It's central, like it's by a bunch of places I already go to. It's by the animal shelter, of course, which I don't go to anymore. So this is the perfect location. I'm very thankful I came here because I love my neighborhood. This is what happened is I was going to different places and looking at apartments, and I applied at an apartment actually next door to mine. And the one I'm in now, it wasn't listed necessarily as being for rent, but I saw this is why I applied, two dogs barking just nonstop, incessant, just noise, yapping, little dogs up in the window. Just thought, okay, people don't care that dogs bark here. Number one, these dogs are annoying as heck. They bark more than my dogs. Applied there, lo and behold, they did have like a room available or an apartment available. And to this day, that's where I live. I live in the barking dog apartment. So it's just a noisy neighborhood that to me, I love this area because this is the only normal part of LA that I know. Is South LA, whatever you want to call it. It's the closest I can find in LA to what I miss as a kid, my childhood neighborhood. Like you got the ice cream truck here, you actually got neighbors talking to you, asking how you doing, and people just are out and like living life, like playing on the playground and biking around and stuff. That it's not anywhere to be found in the rest of LA, in my experience. And so, like, my childhood home is one of the only like good memories I have about my childhood, and we lived there when I was like 16. So that's just gone. The neighbors I don't talk to anymore. That whole experience is gone. Except now, living here, this is the closest I've come to actual like neighborhood. And yes, just the elephant in the room. If you're familiar with South Central, I don't know how else to like be blunt about this. You're probably not gonna like see a whole bunch of white looking girls walk around. So there's that. And when I tell people I live here, let me just clear that up. And it's not that important of a conversation, but because my experience, it's like, stop putting your butt in the camera, dude. It's to me like the fact that the overall feeling and vibe is like a neighborhood where like people actually talk to you. I feel like I fit in here more than any other part of LA that I've lived in, West Side and all that stuff. The rich or primarily not minority people live there. To be blunt, this that where I live, yeah, there's like a reputation, and it's not untrue. There's like a bunch of gang type stuff activity over here. I'm not a part of it. Like he's getting see, I know he has to be on this because he's just too. Yeah, I had to get this special leash because he chewed his leash up one day and he escaped. He has to have a special leash. He's been in some dog fights, so I'll say that I've had to break up, and I can break them up very quickly because I've been trained to do that. That's specifically what I did is run a playgroup and know how to break up dog fights. That's what the purpose of a playgroup is, to socialize dogs. So there's that part of him. This also, I want to be careful where he lands because you can't be walking him off leash. You can't not know what you're doing. You have to have the proper equipment. This collar even is specifically a collar that's going to stop that and be able to control him more. But anyway, just living over here, the difference, me living here, that's just my personal experience. I don't even, and I don't know if it's because like where I'm from, I think it's kind of more like racially integrated, whatever the word is. Oh, this guy's, hold on. He's about to bark at these two dogs coming. Yeah, I'm familiar with all the dogs in this neighborhood. I have to be. No, leave it. Good boy. Good boy. Stop it. Stop it. Now, so this is why he needs this. Because you don't have control over this guy, and you don't know how to break up a fight. He's dead. He will be euthanized, and you'll probably get some legal fees. But he's not a bad dog. He just needs specifically socialization that I don't have time for with two other dogs. So anyway, I just saw it's not going to get better. Once I go back to work soon, I can't sustain it. My place is falling apart. My health is falling apart. So he's a good boy outside of needing to be be socialized. People like be afraid of this type of dog, I guess. They don't. He looks cute. That's the deception. Is he looks cute and like he's not capable of latching on. And I've had to unlatch him several times. People just flip out and start screaming and recording on their phone when that happens. They have no clue what to do, and so that situation never ends well. That he needs to be socialized more. I'll make another video about that when I feel. Oh, geez, this guy's coming over here. When I feel like I'm bro, cut it out. Get... Yeah, no, he doesn't want to say hi. I'm sorry. Thank you. No, no. Have a good day. Okay, it's okay. Bro, it's okay. It's okay. Stop it. Stop. So, prime example. Someone's gonna want to take it to the dog park thinking they can make this better. Stop it. They would do. Some people just don't know what they're doing. Stop it. Enough. And then I get anxiety from this. Like I have to control him and be calm the whole time, but I'm not. Like my heart's racing because it's just I have to manage him and pull back. So most people aren't prepared for this. When they see this space, they don't associate him with being this way. But he's from South Central. Like he grew up in a yard with 3 other dogs that were neglected. And so he probably fought for food, fought for attention that he never got. And he never truly recovered from that. In my situation, he was still somewhat competing that he just needs more one-on-one time. It really just sucks to admit that I had another foster before him who was great, and he found a home, and that's a different story. That it's a case-by-case basis. I have to call it a day at some point. But and I've seen it in this very neighborhood. People will like rescue a pit bull, and yeah, a pit bull is like any other dog, but it is also a dog. You don't know that dogs, like when people don't associate dogs with wolves instead of pets, because that's actually what they're closer to being. They're not closer to being your stuffed animal. They're closer to being a wild animal. And so if a dog doesn't like another dog and you train it to be babied and you spoil it, I've seen this at the dog park. I've seen this in my neighborhood. The dog will seem friendly to you, but it will just take one time. It'll latch on to another dog. And so I've seen this. Yeah, this is like literally what I mean. Like my dogs don't go to dog parks because I've seen people just scream and just call names and threaten to call the cops. And they called the cops over here when this happened. I was whatever, not a part of that. But like literally, I'll just explain that because it's another example. This guy, I can tell he's probably not from this area based off how he handles this dog. Got a rescue pit bull and was trying to, do a meet cute with mine, which, like you see, I don't do that. So whatever, you do you, figure your life out. But this family had a Malinois off leash, which, like, okay, I already know that. I'm staying far away from that. Because if you don't know a Malinois, you think pit bulls anyway. So of course, I knew this would happen. Malinois, his pit bull on a leash gets too close to the Malinois. The Malinois attacks, latches on. And so I see this whole thing happening, and I'm yelling out how to break the dog fight. No one wants to listen to me. I even offered them a collar for this Malinois earlier, I think, or after, but like whatever. People don't know how to handle their own dogs, and they baby them and treat them like pets, and then they end up at the shelter because they're not trained, or they get euthanized, or someone calls the police because they didn't know better than to make friends. Not there's just too much you have to know. And it's specifically these dogs that they're just it's any dog that's just raised not trained. So Sprue is one of them. I've had others that I got close to at the animal shelter. If you want to go to my way old page, it's in the in my bio, Jesus and Dog 7, my original YouTube. There's a video up of a dog who they did this. It was a black male pit bull, and just odds are against you if those are all in play. They tried to get him to like their other resident dog, and it didn't work out. And the resident dog didn't want him in the family, basically. And so Bruiser, his name was, fought back, and of course went right back to the shelter. He was already up for euthanasia and was euthanized. I spent the last day on the planet with him. And so all this stuff people just don't know. But also, if you inform them of this stuff, they will act like they're better than that and that they have control over the situation, even though this always happens. So, like humans, dogs don't always want to be friends. Dogs will just fight it out with you, though, for that reason. There's not enough knowledge about dogs. There's not enough, just, yeah, like common lore about how to have a rescue dog or how to even manage your own dog's training. So, yeah, I could go all over the place with this, but this is every time I go out. Every time I take my dogs out, and if my other two dogs aren't this like wild and out about it stuff, because I've had them longer and had more time with them, but I can't do three dogs. So anyway, I guess I'll talk about living here, because this is where the nonprofit is based. It's based in South LA. It's a very specific nonprofit. It's catered to California and our needs here, and I'm located in LA, and South LA has the most dogs in the entire county. Shelter wise, they have the highest capacity, and so I planted myself there. That's where Dogs Playing for Life is mainly based. Their office is there, and I've worked with them. That's why I went to Florida. Unfortunately, all my training went to no real use because I don't volunteer because I'm tired. But I'm based in South LA specifically for dogs. But living here in practice, like, I'm sure there's question marks. Why the heck is this white girl over here? And to be clear, I'm actually Latin, but it doesn't matter. It's because my dogs. But aside from that, living here, it's not even I can't even say it's like the race part of what makes it weird. It's just the fact that I'm not from here. I don't know like the history unless someone tells me. Like people in the neighborhood, they grew up together, they stay out here, and like they stay where they're from, and they're still friends with the people they used to hang out at the park with and all that. Still hang out with the same people, and at worst you become like gang affiliated over time, or you just leave if you don't fit in, or you kind of go against the current if you're not in that. I'm not trying to attribute any type of judgment to that. I didn't grow up in that type of area necessarily. There's some of that going on where I'm from, but basically, I don't even think it's about race as much as like I'm just unfamiliar and you don't know why to place why I'm here, and so there's just not a lot of stuff in common that I do feel like out of place. Even though I feel more at home here than any other part of LA, which is why I feel like the feeling out of place is more like prominent of a feeling because it feels like home, but there's like a disconnect in my head because I don't feel like I just fit in with people here. And it's all internal. Like people have not projected that onto me. People are very nice here and just normal. I've talked to, people out and about, but I just don't know how to start conversations anyway. It's nothing to do with like race or whatever on my end. I know there's a history of over policing all that stuff that I'm associated with. Unfortunately, there's that. That also makes me uncomfortable with like just talking to people randomly. It's like historically, I'm you wouldn't put me in this neighborhood for like a better words. This is where I'm based. This is where the nonprofit is based. A lot of my content is based here or at the shelter. Aside from the documentary I filmed where I'm from, that is still forever on hold. To me, like I know there's a history behind every area. In this area in particular, I'm not going to say where I'm at. I'm sorry, but like just overall the South Central area. Yeah, there's stuff that happens and has happened in this area. What am I trying to say? I guess what I'm trying to say is just like first, I'm not associated with that just because of what I look like. I'm not approached for that type of stuff, and I didn't grow up here, so I'm not affiliated with anyone really. But at least like where I grew up, not that it was similar. This is actually a lot nicer looking of a neighborhood than where I grew up. But it was just like middle to lower middle class, and I didn't know that like where I'm from, some people consider it like doesn't have a good reputation, don't move there type stuff. My parents didn't send me to the public school there because of all the whatever. To this day, I don't know if they were what they were referring to, just like dangerous type. It's public school. I don't know what to say to that. What am I trying to say here? To me, it's just a neighborhood. It's similar to my old neighborhood because people are neighbors here and they're normal with each other, and there's like a community feeling here that there's not like an exclusivity vibe to it. To me, I don't know. Like yeah, there's not a whole lot to say after that. Like I said, it is obvious that I'm like one of the only people that look like myself over here. But after like a second of that, it's still just about all relative. I grew up feeling outcast of social groups anyway. So like I said, it's mostly internal. This feeling I have of not fitting in, and it just projects outward. No one. People have made me feel the opposite. So there's not really like a reason for that. Yeah, but this is where I stay. This is where I will be staying indefinitely. I don't know what the future is for this nonprofit. Mostly, I think I'm just going to be sticking to the podcast, just topics that I think people need to know about, and it's such an obscure. Like this was made. I work with dogs because I've run businesses. I've been in the entertainment industry. I've basically worked with enough people and tried to make success or whatever you want to call it, make stuff happen that I don't want it anymore. Because ultimately, you're always dealing with people, and people oversimplify things. They think they're better than you or that they know better than you. And there's just overall, as a whole, people, there's too many problems that they won't address in themselves. That I don't want to work with them. I don't want to like cater to an audience made up of a bunch of people that I'm like I would actually prefer to work in this small area of society that actually needs a bunch of help. Even my music is kind of positioned the same way. It's not I don't want all that stuff. I like to be in the background and not out there. I like my privacy. And when I don't want to talk to people, I just don't want to talk to you. I don't want a ton of people knowing about me that I don't even know that I don't want to talk to, just judging by like, and I'll be judgmental too, right back because I've seen enough to know that overall, just don't want to work with people on a large scale. And if any type of success, fame, money, otherwise, really doesn't drive me to do anything. And I've seen money used against people within my own family, against me growing up and being declared I'm not worth much in child support type stuff. So none of that stuff motivates me. And this nonprofit is very obscure and niche, but it's necessary. This is still my main focus. I would say music is like a distraction to help deal with people, but this just education about animal care specifically in this area. This area is neglected too, but no one comes out to like to this day. Our bathroom in the community center has been broken over a year, and apparently someone came in the summer and said they need parts and never came back. Since I moved here, our bathroom's been broken and stuff like that. They shut down the water pad, and no one wants to fix it. So all summer, no one been able to use this big water pad that they built for whatever. Yeah, that this area is kind of ignored. The shelter animal care is pretty much ignored as a topic as a whole. And as just kind of like a documentary type writer person by nature, I feel like that's what I want to focus on, and that's why this nonprofit exists. Is that to fix it, you have to kind of bring stuff to light that people don't even know is happening, and frame it in a way that is understandable. And so, yeah, that's the goal with Uncommon Dogs Productions. Long story short, that's why I'm in South Central. Like I said, depending who you ask, I asked another neighbor, and he, no, this is not South Central. This is the West Side. Look how like so whatever tangent, but yeah, that's the story behind why I live here, why and what Uncommon Dogs Productions is. And there's a lot more to it than that I'll probably cover in podcast episodes, but it's not a music production company if you haven't figured out. I just used it because I was making music, and by default, my distributor asks which production company I use, and so I just put mine. Otherwise, I'd have nothing to put in that spot. The goal with this was to find some way to change this just sinking ship that is animal care, because nothing seems to stick or work. Information isn't passed along, rescues close, everything malfunctions, budget never ends up solving anything. It gets cut or misused. Everyone at the top is typically a manipulator that just collects a six-figure check to run the shelter and doesn't only do anything but for optics. And all these are very loaded topics that I wanted to get into, that out and about. No one wants to hear this conversation necessarily, and so I just be talking to myself and arguing in my own head about this stuff. This could be better if only people knew this thing. That's what this nonprofit is for. And if I happen to get an opportunity to finish my documentary or do a different one, like I have one posted, that'd be great. But I don't get any income or outcome money wise from this. It's solely on YouTube. There's no website. I have a shirt that's up for sale. That's the closest that income wise, but yeah, it's very much a nonprofit, self-led venture. I have a pretty solid job interview next week for I just about bailed on animal care altogether because I'm so burnt out. But because I'm unemployed, I'm like, why not? I'll just apply for dog stuff. And I have an interview doing potentially actually finally running playgroup for a living at a nonprofit. So I'm really hoping that goes well. But I say that because I'm unemployed, so I have time to spend with him before he has to go away. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing much of anything this week except hanging out with Faru. There's no good ending. My other two dogs don't deserve being ignored. It's just not. It wasn't supposed to work out this long. He was supposed to have found a home, and I can't. I can't let my health and my place go into disrepair trying to just keep what nothing's changing in this scenario. But yeah, it sucks. This is how animal care is, and so yeah, it's heartbreaking, and I already deal with enough heartbreak from people that yeah, I'm not sure what the future is as far as any type of projects go, music or animals or otherwise. But that's why I say to myself, people don't want to hear when you're doing bad. They'll actually judge you for it. And I've had someone yesterday almost mock me for being depressed. So I don't associate with people. Dogs make more sense. I like talking to people, but in the end, they all eventually usually reveal that they suck as people. So in the end, it's just not worth it. I'd rather spend time with dogs and just kind of be a loner. It's not, like I said, it's not that I don't like people, but in the end, you just freaking fly your loser flag and show bad character, and I want nothing to do with you. So dogs are not that way. They're not confusing and deceptive. All right, so on that note, yeah, that's about it. I appreciate you watching. Yeah, I'm gonna be spending time with Faru until he has to go. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Thanks for at least being interested in this subject at all. It's hard. The whole system's messed up, and everyone knows it. No one knows how to fix it. I try to put myself through the situation itself and try to navigate so I know from the inside how housing works, how laws work, how training works, how all this stuff actually works from the inside so I can actually inform people. Yeah, like legitimately know what I'm talking about. And that's why I was an adoption counselor. This I put my time in. It's been a few years. I've helped, I don't even know how many dogs find homes. And that's about all I can do other than finally step outside the situation and try to fix it from the outside. Yeah. All right. That's enough talking. I appreciate you watching. God bless.